The sound comes first. Not the roar you expect from avalanches in movies, not the thunderous collapse that shakes valleys and splits mountains open. This one is quieter, a deep, muffled whump like the mountain exhaling beneath your boots. You freeze mid-step, your ice axe is still raised, metal hovering inches above blue-white ice, when the ground shivers. Not violently, not yet. Just enough that you feel it travel up through your soles, into your calves, into the old injuries you never quite talk about. Beside you, your dog stops too. Coda's ears snap forward, his body lowers, not in fear, but in attention. Border collies don't panic first. They calculate. The wind is already screaming, pulling loose snow off the ridgeline and hurling it past your face in stinging needles. The glacier stretches ahead, a frozen river cracked with veins of electric blue, dropping away into a white nothingness below. 12,000 feet. The air is thin enough that every breath feels borrowed. You glance at Coda. Easy, you say, though your voice comes out flatter than you intend, swallowed immediately by the wind. He doesn't look at you. He's staring uphill. That's when the mountain lets go. The slope above fractures in silence before motion, snow folding inward on itself, a smooth, terrible curtain peeling free. For half a second it looks almost graceful. Then gravity remembers its job. Coda! You shout his name just as the world turns white. The force hits you like a train made of air and ice. You're knocked sideways, axe ripped from your grip, your body rolling as the ground disappears. Sound collapses into a low, endless roar, pressure crushing your chest as snow fills every space, every gap, every breath you didn't have time to take. You fight, instinct screaming directions your body can't follow. There is no up, no down, just spinning, tumbling, cold, invading everything, and then nothing. Silence snaps into place so suddenly it rings. You come back gasping, mouth packed with snow, lungs burning as if they've been scraped raw. You claw your way upward, fingers screaming as they punch through crust and powder until light breaks in, blinding and unreal. You drag yourself free and collapse onto your side. The avalanche debris field sprawls around you, uneven mounds of shattered snow and ice stretching farther than you can see. The slope above is scoured clean, raw rock exposed like bone. Coda! You say. Your voice shakes this time. You push yourself upright, scanning wildly. Your helmet is gone, one glove is missing. Your pack lies half buried a few meters away, straps twisted like broken limbs. Coda! Nothing answers. The wind surges, a racing sound filling the silence with motion. Snow continues to fall, not from the sky, but from the mountain itself, loose remnants sliding and settling with soft, final sighs. You stumble forward, heart hammering so hard it feels like it might crack your ribs from the inside. Coda! Come! You listen for him! The jingle of his collar, the scrape of paws, the sharp bark he uses when he's unsure but willing. You listen the way you were trained, to listen on expeditions, past the wind, past your own breathing, into the spaces between sounds. There's nothing. Your stomach tightens into something cold and heavy. Minutes pass, or seconds. Time loses its edges up here. You search until your legs begin to shake, until the altitude and adrenaline drain you hollow. You dig with bare hands where you think you might have been standing. You shout until your throat burns and your voice frays into nothing. Still nothing. Eventually, reality presses in, slow and merciless. Avalanche protocol, self-assessment, survival. You force yourself to check your body. No obvious fractures, though pain blooms along your shoulder and hip with every movement. Your radio is gone. Your emergency beacon still clipped to your harness. You thumb it on with numb fingers, watching the tiny light blink to life. Help is coming! It doesn't feel like it! You sink down onto a block of ice and stare at the slope where your dog vanished. Coda wasn't supposed to be here. That thought surfaces uninvited, sharp as the cold. He was supposed to be retired! They'd said it gently, the instructors, professional voices wrapped around disappointment. High drive, excellent instincts, but inconsistent response under controlled stress. A polite way of saying he failed. Failed search and rescue certification. Failed the system designed to recognize heroes, so you took him with you instead. Long routes, quiet ascents, just the two of you and the mountain. No radios, no vests, no expectations. He'd always been better that way. You press your forehead against your knees, breath fogging the inside of your jacket. I'm sorry, you murmur to the snow. The words vanish immediately, stolen by the wind. Hours bleed by. The light shifts almost imperceptibly, the flat white of midday deepening toward gold as the sun sinks behind distant peaks. Shadows stretch long across the glacier, carving depth into what once looked endless and smooth. You don't know how long you've been half-conscious when the radio crackles. Repeat. Beacon signal confirmed. Team approaching from South Ridge. Relief doesn't arrive the way you expect. It doesn't flood you. It doesn't warm you. It just loosens something enough that exhaustion rushes in to fill the space. You manage a weak response, coordinates slurred by cold and fatigue. You sit back against your pack, eyes tracing the horizon. That's when you see it. At first you think it's a trick of light, a shadow where no shadow should be, a darker smudge against the pale slope far below. You squint, heart stuttering. The shape moves, slowly, purposefully. Your breath stops, not from cold this time, but from recognition so sudden it hurts. "Coda," you whisper. The figure is too far to make out clearly, but the movement is unmistakable. Low to the ground, circling, stopping, circling again. Your pulse kicks into a frantic rhythm. He's alive. The realization hits hard enough to make your vision blur. You fumble for your binoculars with shaking hands, lifting them just as the light shifts again. The image snaps into focus. Coda stands at the mouth of a snow cave carved into the debris field, his black and white coat dulled with ice and frost. His chest rises and falls, steady but strained. One ear is torn, dark with dried blood. Behind him, you suck in a breath that never quite makes it to your lungs. A human figure lies inside the cave, motionless at first glance. Then, barely, a hand twitches. An injured climber. Coda steps back inside the cave, positioning himself between the man and the open snowfield. He turns his head toward the wind, alert, watchful, as if daring the mountain to try again. You lower the binoculars slowly, hands numb, mind racing, days maybe. That's how long search teams will later say the climber had been missing. Swept off a neighboring route, presumed dead, and your dog, your failed rescue dog found him, sheltered him, stayed. The radio crackles again, closer now. "We have visual on you, 10 minutes out. You can't speak." You can only nod, even though no one can see you, eyes locked on the impossible scene below. The sun breaks through the clouds at just the right angle, bathing the glacier in gold. Snow spins through the air like embers. Rescue team silhouettes emerge along the ridge, dark shapes against fire-lit white. "You don't remember standing up!" One moment you're sitting on the ice, binoculars pressed so hard to your face they leave an ache behind your eyes. The next, you're on your feet, swaying, knees protesting as if they belong to someone else. Blood rushes in your ears, loud and insistent, trying to drown out everything except itself. Below you, the snow cave looks impossibly small. The distance between you and Coda isn't measured in meters anymore. It's measured in fear. In everything that could still go wrong. The rescue team reaches you in a flurry of movement, boots crunching, ropes snapping taut, voices raised and clipped with training. Hands grip your shoulders, steady you, guide you backward as if you might topple straight off the mountain if they let go. "You're in shock," someone says close to your ear. A thermal blanket appears around your shoulders, silver and crinkling, trapping what little heat you have left. Oxygen mask, quick questions, fingers pressing along your ribs, your arms, your legs. You answer automatically. Years of mountaineering have trained you well. You know how to inventory pain. You know how to speak clearly even when your thoughts feel wrapped in cotton. But your eyes never leave the slope below. "My dog," you say finally. The words come out rough, scraped raw by cold and disuse. "There," you add, lifting a shaking hand. "Snow cave, with a man." The team leader follows your gaze. You watch his posture change, not dramatically, not with panic, but with focus. Purpose clicks into place behind his eyes. "Well, I'll be damned," he mutters. Radios come alive instantly. Voices overlap, urgent now, no longer just about you. A missing climber, a live signal where there shouldn't be one, and a dog. They don't question that part. Not here, not after what they can see with their own eyes. "You're staying put," the medic says, already kneeling to check your shoulder more thoroughly. "We go to them. You grab his sleeve." "No," you say. The word lands heavier than you expect. "I'm coming." He starts to argue. You can see it forming. The liability, the injuries, the protocol. You don't wait for him to finish. "He won't leave," you say. "Not unless he knows I'm okay." That gives them pause. You can't explain it in terms they'd put on a report, but you know it with the same certainty you know how to tie into a rope blindfolded. Coda will not abandon the climber, but he also won't fully stand down until he sees you alive. The team leader studies you for a long second. Wind tears at his jacket, flapping the edges like a warning flag. 5 minutes, he says finally. You walk until you can't. Then you stop. No heroics. You nod. It's more than you hoped for. The descent is slow and brutal. Every step sends pain flashing up your leg, your shoulder screaming with each jolt. Snow shifts unpredictably underfoot, the debris field unstable, riddled with hidden voids. You move, roped to the team, their weight and presence the only thing keeping you upright when your body threatens to fold. As you get closer, details sharpen. The cave isn't natural, not entirely. Someone, something has shaped it, packed the entrance, reinforced the roof with chunks of hardened snow. It's crude, uneven, but it's intentional. Coda sees you before you see him clearly. His head snaps up, ears straining forward. For half a heartbeat, he doesn't move, just stares, eyes bright and disbelieving. Then he barks. The sound cuts through the wind like a blade. Sharp! Alive! Your chest caves inward around it. Coda! You call back, voice cracking despite yourself. He bolts forward, then stops short, skidding in the snow as if suddenly remembering his duty. He glances back into the cave, hesitates, then returns to the entrance, pacing in tight circles. Good boy, still guarding, still thinking. You drop to your knees a few feet from him, ignoring the sting as ice soaks through your pants. It's okay, you say softly. I'm here! He approaches slowly now, cautious, nose working overtime. He presses his head against your chest with a force that nearly knocks the air out of you. His body trembles. Not from cold, you realize, but from release. You bury your face in his fur, breathing him in. Snow! Blood! The faint, familiar scent of your pack from weeks of shared climbs. I thought I lost you, you whisper into his neck. His tail thumps once, twice. Then he pulls away, turns sharply, and nudges your knee with his nose before looking back at the cave. Now them, his body language says clearly. You crawl forward, peering inside. The climber is alive! Barely! His face is pale, lips tinged blue, eyes fluttering weakly at the intrusion of light. One leg lies at an angle that makes your stomach twist. His breathing is shallow but steady, fogging the cramped space in short bursts. He's been keeping him warm, one of the rescuers says quietly behind you. You nod, throat locked. Coda must have curled against him, shared what heat he had, blocked the wind with his body, a living barrier against death. They work quickly after that, efficient, gentle. IVs, splints, careful movements to avoid collapse of the fragile shelter. You're guided back, urged to sit, to drink, to let the professionals do what they do best. Coda refuses to leave the climber's side until the stretcher is fully secured. Only then does he come to you, sitting close enough that his shoulder presses into your leg. He leans there, solid and warm, eyes never quite leaving the man being lifted toward the sky. As the helicopter's thrum builds, snow whipping into chaos around you, a strange calm settles in. The worst has already happened. And somehow, against every expectation, so has the impossible. Later, much later, they'll ask you questions. They'll want timelines, details. How long Coda was gone. How he found the climber. How he knew what to do. You won't have good answers. All you know is this. The system said he wasn't good enough. The mountain disagreed. As the helicopter rises, carrying the injured climber away, Coda lifts his head and watches until it disappears into the clouds. Then he looks at you. The helicopter disappears into the clouds, its noise ripped apart by distance until only the wind remains. Silence settles differently now. Not empty, not peaceful, weighted. You sit wrapped in layers of borrowed gear, back against a slab of ice, watching your breath fog and vanish. Coda stays pressed to your side, his body a constant point of contact, as if he's making sure you don't drift somewhere he can't follow. Every so often, he looks uphill. Not nervously, not fearfully, assessing. The rescuers finish securing ropes, packing equipment with practiced efficiency. Their voices are lower now, no longer sharp with urgency. The crisis has moved on without you, carried away inside a spinning shell of metal and noise. What's left is aftermath. One of the medics crouches in front of you, eyes scanning your face. We're pulling you out, she says. Storm's rolling in hard tonight. You nod. You don't argue this time. The adrenaline that carried you through the descent is draining fast, leaving behind an ache that feels older than today. As they help you stand, your shoulder flares white hot, vision narrowing at the edges. Coda shifts instantly, stepping closer, his side braced against your leg. You lean into him without thinking. He adjusts to your weight like he's always known how much you'd need. The walk back is slower than the way down. Your mind drifts despite your best efforts, pulled backward by questions that won't leave you alone. They surface in fragments, carried on the rhythm of your steps. How did he survive the slide? How did he find the climber? Why didn't he come back for you? The last one digs deepest. You know the answer already. You've known it since the moment you saw him at the cave entrance. He stayed because someone needed him more. The temporary shelter comes into view through blowing snow, a bright orange smear against the white. Inside, the air is warmer, heavy with the smell of fuel, sweat, and damp fabric. You're guided onto a bench, wrapped again, handed something hot and vaguely sweet. Coda shakes violently as soon as you're inside, spraying meltwater across the floor. Someone laughs softly. Good dog, a rescuer says, reaching out. Coda sidesteps the hand without aggression, positioning himself closer to you instead. Not rude, just certain. They let it go. You watch him closely now. Really look at him. The tear in his ear is worse than you thought. There's swelling along his ribs, one paw raw and bleeding between the pads. He's exhausted beyond anything you've ever seen, his eyes rimmed red, his movements stiff and economical, and yet alert, like part of him is still out there on the glacier, counting wind shifts and listening for danger. Did he have training? One of the team asked casually while checking your vitals. Some, you say? Not enough to pass. That earned you a glance, curious, non-judgmental. He behaved like a seasoned SAR dog, the rescuer says. Better than some certified ones I've worked with. You swallow. The memory surfaces without warning. A flat training field months ago, flags snapping in the breeze, instructors with clipboards and neutral expressions. Coda, breaking formation, veering off course because he'd caught a scent no one else could verify. False positive, they'd called it. You remember kneeling in the dirt afterward, hands in his fur, apologizing even though you weren't sure why. He'd licked your face, tail wagging, unconcerned with failure because the concept didn't exist for him. Inside the shelter, the wind howls louder, rattling the walls. Snow pellets the fabric in angry bursts. Night is coming fast. They insist on checking you both thoroughly before transport. Your injuries are cataloged and labeled. Codas are cleaned as best they can be, wrapped carefully. He tolerates it with minimal protest, eyes flicking to you every few seconds to confirm proximity. When they finally load you into the sled for the descent, he jumps in beside you without waiting for permission. No one stops him. The ride down blurs into sensation. Cold air on your face, rope tension tugging and releasing, the mountain groaning in the dark. At some point, exhaustion drags you under. You dream of falling snow that never lands. You wake to warmth, real warmth, enclosed, safe. A base camp infirmary, they tell you. Hours later, you're propped up on a cot, IV taped to your arm, the low hum of generators vibrating through the floor. Coda lies curled beneath the cot, pressed close enough that you can feel the rise and fall of his breathing through the mattress frame. When he senses you stirring, his head appears beside you, chin resting on the edge of the bed. You did good, you murmur. His tail thumps once against the floor. Sleep tries to take you again, but this time you resist. Your mind won't settle, replaying the image of the snow cave over and over. The way it was shaped, reinforced, the way Coda positioned himself. That wasn't instinct alone, that was decision. A knock interrupts your thoughts. The team leader from earlier steps inside, helmet tucked under one arm. His expression is different now, less urgent, more thoughtful. We got confirmation on the climber, he says quietly. He's stable. Hypothermia, broken leg, concussion. Another few hours out there and he trails off. You nod. There's something else, he adds. He was conscious for part of it. Said something we thought you should hear. Your fingers curl slightly against the blanket. He said your dog found him the first night, wouldn't let him sleep, kept nudging him, barking whenever he stopped responding, and when the storm hit, your dog dug. All night. The words settle slowly, like snow accumulating weight. He tried to crawl away at one point, the rescuer continues. Didn't want to slow the dog down. Your dog blocked him, physically, refused to leave. Coda shifts beneath the cot as if he can feel the attention turning inward. He told us, the rescuer finishes, that your dog saved his life. After he leaves, you lie there staring at the ceiling, the generator's hum filling the space between heartbeats. They said Coda lacked discipline. Said he didn't follow protocol, said he failed under controlled stress. You reach down, fingers brushing his fur. The mountain never asked for control. It asked for commitment, and Coda gave everything he had. Outside, the storm rages on, but in here, wrapped in canvas and light and the steady presence of a dog who refused to quit, you understand something else too. The mountain took a lot, but it didn't take him. Morning arrives without ceremony. No sunrise over jagged peaks, no cinematic reveal, just a gradual thinning of darkness inside the infirmary tent, the generators humming at a slightly different pitch as the camp wakes up around you. Your body registers the pain before your mind fully surfaces. A deep ache in your shoulder, a tight pull along your ribs, the dull, insistent throb of muscles pushed well past what they were ready for. You breathe carefully, testing the limits, cataloging what still works. Beneath the cot, Coda shifts. You lower a hand over the edge. He's there instantly, warm and solid, pressing his forehead into your palm. The bandage on his paw is clean now, replaced sometime while you slept. Someone has taken care with it. Still here, you whisper. His tail taps once against the floor frame. Outside, voices move through camp boots crunching on packed snow, zippers winding open, the smell of coffee bleeding into the air. Life resuming, as if the mountain didn't nearly erase you yesterday. A medic checks in, then another. They shine lights in your eyes, ask you to rate pain on a scale that has never made much sense to you. You answer dutifully. Eventually, they leave you alone. That's when the questions come back, not the frantic ones from yesterday, sharp and immediate. These are quieter, heavier. They sit with you. Why did Coda dig there? Why did he choose the cave instead of trying to come back? How did he know the climber was alive? You've spent years in environments where mistakes are punished quickly and competence is measured in checklists. You've respected that structure, trusted it, until now. A shadow falls across the tent opening. You look up to see a woman standing there, clipboard tucked under one arm, parka marked with the emblem of the Regional Search and Rescue Authority. Her hair is pulled back tight. Expression professional but not unkind. "Mind if I come in?" she asks. You nod. She steps inside, glancing briefly at Coda before meeting your eyes. "I'm Lena," she says. "I oversee canine assessment and deployment for this sector. There it is, the system, standing in front of you with a name and a clipboard." "I've already read your dog's file," she continues, flipping a page. "Border Collie, high intelligence, exceptional drive. Failed certification due to non-compliance with handler cues under test conditions. Your jaw tightens despite yourself. He wasn't non-compliant, you say. He was right." She studies you for a moment, then surprises you by smiling faintly. "That's what I wanted to talk about." She crouches, bringing herself to Coda's level. He watches her closely, ears alert but body relaxed. She doesn't reach for him, doesn't crowd his space. "Do you know how many dogs we wash out every year?" she asks, not looking at you. You shake your head. "Most of them," she says, "not because they lack ability, because they don't fit the model." She straightens, eyes sharper now. "We train dogs to respond to patterns we understand, scents we can validate, behaviors we can score. What we don't train for very well is judgment." Your pulse picks up. "The climber you found," she continues, "was off route, buried under debris that wouldn't have registered as a high probability zone. No beacon signal, no visible markers." She closes the clipboard. "Your dog ignored probability." Coda shifts closer to you, pressing his shoulder against your calf. "He followed something we don't quantify," she says, "and he committed." The word hangs there. Commitment. It echoes the long night the rescuer described, digging through frozen debris with bleeding paws, blocking an injured man from giving up. Staying when leaving would have been easier and safer. "There will be a report," Lena says. "There always is. But there will also be discussion." You exhale slowly. "About Coda? About the way we evaluate dogs like him?" She hesitates, then adds, "And handlers." The implication lands quietly. "This wasn't just Coda's failure in their eyes. It was yours too, for trusting him over the checklist." After she leaves, you sit in the silence, watching Coda nose at the edge of your blanket. He tugs it gently, like he's trying to adjust it the way he would in a snow cave. "You don't care about any of this," you murmur. He yawns, wide and unapologetic. Later that afternoon, they let you walk. Just a little. Just enough to stretch stiff joints and remind your body it still belongs to you. Coda stays glued to your side as you step out into the thin alpine light. The storm has passed. The mountain looks almost gentle now, slopes smooth clean, scars hidden beneath fresh snow. It's beautiful in the way dangerous things often are. When they're done reminding you who's in charge, you stop at the edge of camp, staring toward the distant glacier. Somewhere out there is the cave, already collapsing back into the mountain, already being erased. Coda sits beside you, gaze fixed on the same place. "Do you miss it?" you ask quietly. He tilts his head, considering. Then he looks back at you. "Not the mountain." You understand then that whatever purpose he found up there, it wasn't tied to altitude or ice or heroics. It was tied to choice, to seeing someone in need and staying. As you turn back toward the tent, a thought takes root. Small, stubborn, impossible to ignore. If the system can't see dogs like Coda, then maybe it needs to be shown. Recovery is not a straight line. It's a series of small negotiations with your own body. How far, how fast, how much pain you're willing to accept in exchange for progress. Each morning you wake up a little stiffer than the last, then loosen slowly as movement reminds your muscles what they're for. Coda learns this rhythm quickly. He doesn't pull, doesn't rush you. He walks half a step behind now, watching your posture, adjusting when you falter. When you stop, he stops. When you sit, he sits close enough that your knees brush his flank. He's still working, just without a vest. The base camp empties gradually as the days pass. Teams rotate out, weather windows close and reopen. Life in the mountains continues with the indifference it has always had toward individual stories. But yours doesn't end when the adrenaline fades. It follows you down. At the regional hospital, your room smells faintly of antiseptic and recycled air. The windows don't open. The ceiling doesn't move. The quiet feels unnatural after wind and ice. Coda hates it at first. He paces the limited space, nails clicking softly against tile, ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound. Elevators, distant alarms, voices filtered through walls. You rest a hand against his chest when he passes, grounding him the way he grounds you. "It's temporary," you murmur. You're not sure if you mean the room or this moment of stillness before something bigger arrives. The climber visits on the third day. You don't recognize him at first. He looks smaller without the mountain around him, one leg braced and elevated, skin still pale but eyes clear. He pauses in the doorway when he sees Coda. "That's him," he says quietly. Coda lifts his head. Recognition sparks instantly. His tail begins to move, slow at first, then faster. He crosses the room with careful enthusiasm, stopping just short of the man's crutches, sitting neatly as if waiting for instruction. The climber swallows. "You don't remember much from those days," he says to you, voice unsteady. "But I remember him. Every time I started to drift, he wouldn't let me." He lowers himself awkwardly into a chair, fingers tightening around the handles. "I named him, you know," he adds with a faint smile. You glance at Coda. "What did you call him?" The man exhales a soft laugh. "Anchor." The word settles into the room, heavy and exact. They talk about the storm, the cave, the long night that blurred into something timeless. He describes waking to warmth pressed against his chest, a shape blocking the entrance whenever wind howled too hard, eyes watching him in the dark, unblinking. "He knew when I was fading," the climber says. "I don't know how, but he did." Coda listens with his head tilted, as if hearing his own story told back to him in a language he almost understands. Before the man leaves, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out his phone. "I recorded something," he says, "for the report, for whoever needs convincing." You hesitate. "What do you mean?" He meets your eyes. "I mean, people won't believe this unless they see it." The video is shaky, dim, illuminated by the faint glow of a headlamp. Snow walls curve inward. The sound of wind filters through layers of ice. And there, clear as day, is Coda, digging, stopping to nudge the camera holder when breathing falters, barking sharply when eyes close too long, curling against the man's side, blocking the entrance with his body as spindrift pours in. The timestamp rolls on. Hours. You feel something tighten behind your ribs as you watch. Not pride, something deeper, validation. After the climber leaves, you sit in silence, the phone heavy in your hand. "This changes things," you say quietly. Coda doesn't react. He's already moved on, content to rest his chin against your knee. The meeting happens a week later. A plain room, a long table, coffee gone cold, people with titles and careful language. Lena is there, along with two others from the Canine Assessment Board. They thank you for coming, for your service, for your honesty. They play the video. No one speaks while it runs. When it ends, the room feels different, like pressure has shifted. "This behavior," one of them says slowly, "was never part of the evaluation criteria." "That's the problem," you reply before you can stop yourself. "They don't argue." Lena folds her hands. "We can't rewrite the system overnight," she says, "but we can question its blind spots." She looks at Coda, lying quietly at your feet. "We missed something," she admits. The words don't come with apology. They come with gravity. When the meeting ends, nothing is officially decided. No announcements, no promises, but something has cracked. As you leave the building, Coda steps into the sunlight and squints, tail lifting in a familiar arc. He looks lighter somehow, as if a weight he never acknowledged has finally been set down. You follow him out, shoulder still sore, future still uncertain. The mountain took your certainty, but it gave you proof. Recognition doesn't arrive with applause. It comes as waiting. Days stretch into a shape you don't recognize. Physical therapy appointments, follow-up scans, paperwork that asks you to compress something vast and lived into boxes and timestamps. Every form wants facts. None of them ask what it felt like to think your dog was gone forever. Coda senses the shift before you do. He grows restless in small ways. Not destructive, not anxious, just alert, watching doors, listening longer than necessary when footsteps pass outside your apartment. His sleep becomes lighter, as if part of him is still tuned to distant wind and unstable snow. You catch him once, standing perfectly still in the middle of the living room, head tilted toward nothing you can hear. "What is it?" you ask. He doesn't answer, just blinks, then lies down at your feet. You dream of the avalanche more now, not the violence of it, the silence afterward. In the dreams, you're buried but unharmed, suspended in cold darkness. You can hear your own heartbeat. You can't move. Somewhere far away, something is digging, but it never reaches you. You wake with your jaw clenched, breath shallow, Coda already awake beside the bed. He presses his forehead into your ribs until your breathing evens out. Recovery plateaus. Your shoulder heals slower than expected. The doctor uses words like complicated and lingering inflammation. You nod, accept it, adjust your exercises. You don't say out loud that climbing again feels impossibly far away. Without the mountains, something in you feels unmoored. You try to fill the space with purpose, emails, meetings, follow-ups. Lena checks in occasionally, careful not to promise anything she can't deliver. There's pushback, she admits during one call, from people who've built their careers on the existing criteria. You imagine them: charts, metrics, dogs reduced to pass-fail columns. What happens if they decide it was a fluke, you ask? A pause. Then nothing changes, she says honestly, and dogs like Coda keep washing out. After the call ends, the apartment feels smaller. Coda brings you his leash and drops it at your feet. His eyes are intent, questioning. Okay, you say, forcing a smile. Okay. Outside, the city hums with a different kind of indifference. Pavement instead of ice, sirens instead of wind. You walk slowly, careful of your shoulder, letting Coda choose the route. He leads you to the park and then past it, farther than usual, toward a construction site cordoned off with temporary fencing. The ground is uneven, muddy from recent rain. He stops abruptly, nose high, body tense. Coda! You murmur. Hey, it's fine. He doesn't move. A sound cuts through the air, a sharp, panicked cry. Not loud, not dramatic, easy to miss if you weren't listening for it. Coda lunges forward, leash snapping taut. You follow the sound to the edge of the site, heart accelerating. Below, in a partially excavated pit, a worker lies crumpled awkwardly, one leg pinned beneath a slab of concrete. His face is ashen, eyes wide with shock. Coda barks, short, insistent. He pulls hard enough that your shoulder flares in protest, but you let him lead, calling out for help as you go. The next minutes blur. Emergency services, shouting, coordination. Coda stays planted at the edge of the pit, barking whenever the injured man's eyes flutter closed. He won't let him fade, won't let him be forgotten. Someone films. You don't realize it until later. That night, your phone explodes with notifications. A video, grainy, vertical, unmistakable, circulates online. A border collie at a construction site, a calm, focused presence amid chaos. A caption that reads, "Same dog from the avalanche rescue, still working." The comments pour in. Why wasn't this dog certified? This is instinct, not training. How many heroes are we rejecting? You sit on the floor, back against the couch, phone heavy in your hand. Coda lies across your feet, asleep already, chest rising and falling with deep, earned breaths. The attention should feel like victory. Instead, dread creeps in quietly. Because systems don't like being embarrassed, and attention doesn't always bring change. Sometimes it brings resistance. You turn off the phone and rest your hand against Coda's side, feeling the steady warmth there. Whatever happens, you whisper, more to yourself than to him. We didn't imagine it. Outside, traffic murmurs like distant wind, and somewhere between the mountain you left behind and the city pressing in around you, you realize this is the moment before everything tips. Either the truth breaks through, or it gets buried. Just like everything else, the mountain doesn't keep. The attention doesn't fade, it multiplies. By morning, the video has escaped whatever corner of the internet it started in. It's been reposted, stitched, slowed down, captioned with bold text and quiet awe. News outlets call it another rescue. Commentators call it proof. Strangers call it unfair. Your phone rings until the battery dies. You don't answer most of them. Coda doesn't notice the difference between silence and noise. He eats when he's hungry, sleeps when he's tired, watches you when you're neither. But he notices you. He notices the way your shoulders tighten when you scroll, the way your breathing changes when you read certain words out loud without realizing it. Hero dog, untrained liability. Why wasn't this animal under official supervision? That one sticks. Liability. It follows you into the shower, into the kitchen, into sleep. It coils itself around the truth until you almost start to doubt what you lived. Almost. A knock comes in the afternoon, firm, deliberate. Coda is on his feet before you are, body aligned with the door, not barking, just waiting. You open it to find two people standing in the hallway, both wearing jackets with the same insignia you saw on Lena's clipboard, both holding folders thick enough to be weapons if they wanted them to be. "May we come in?" the taller one asks. His tone is polite, his eyes are not. "They sit at your kitchen table. You don't offer coffee. No one asks. We're here regarding the recent footage," the woman says, flipping her folder open. Specifically, concerns about unsanctioned deployment of an uncertified animal in emergency situations. Coda lies down at your feet. "Close. Grounded. He wasn't deployed, you say," he responded. The taller man exhales through his nose. "That distinction doesn't hold legally." Your jaw tightens. "So what is this?" you ask. "A warning? A risk assessment," the woman replies smoothly. Public perception is volatile. If something had gone wrong, if someone had been injured, we'd be having a very different conversation. But someone was injured, you say, and he saved them. They exchange a glance. That doesn't negate protocol. The words land like a door slamming shut. You lean back in your chair, shoulder protesting, and look down at Coda. He looks back up at you, eyes clear, steady. "They failed him," you say quietly. "Your system! Twice!" Silence stretches. Finally, the woman closes her folder. There's a review board meeting tomorrow, she says. Your presence has been requested, as has the dogs. You blink. Requested? She hesitates just long enough to matter. Observed, she corrects. After they leave, the apartment feels colder. Coda nudges your hand with his nose, a familiar grounding gesture. You run your fingers through his fur, anchoring yourself the way he anchored strangers. I won't let them turn you into a problem, you murmur. That night, sleep refuses to come. When it finally does, it carries you back to the mountain, not the avalanche, but the cave. The tight space. The darkness lit by a single trembling beam. In the dream, you're the one lying injured, breath shallow, and Coda is there, blocking the entrance, refusing to move, watching the world until it decides to save you. The boardroom smells like disinfectant and recycled air. Long table, neutral walls. A projection screen already lit with a pause frame from the video. Coda at the construction site, body taut, eyes locked on something off-screen. You sit with your hands folded, Coda lying at your feet, calm in a way that feels intentional. People file in. Titles are exchanged. Polite nods. Lena meets your eyes from across the room. She gives the smallest nod. They play the avalanche footage first, then the climber's recording, then the construction site video. No commentary, just images and sound. When it ends, the room holds its breath. One of the board members clears his throat. This dog exhibits behavior that is difficult to categorize. That's because you're trying to fit him into boxes built for predictability, you say before you can stop yourself. He doesn't work that way, murmurs Ripple. You're arguing for intuition over training, another voice says. No, you reply. I'm arguing for recognizing intelligence that doesn't look like obedience. Coda lifts his head as if on cue. He doesn't wait for permission when someone is dying, you continue. He doesn't calculate liability, he commits. The word echoes again. Commitment. The chairperson leans forward. And if that commitment leads him into danger, you don't look away. Then he'll do what he's always done, which is, you rest your hand on Coda's back. Stay. The room is silent for a long time. Finally, Lena speaks. We designed a system to prevent mistakes, she says evenly. But in doing so, we may have excluded a different kind of success. She gestures toward Coda. This dog represents a question we can't ignore anymore. Eyes turn toward the chairperson. A decision hangs in the air, fragile and heavy. You feel it in your chest, pressing, waiting. Whatever they decide next will change more than Coda's future. It will decide what kind of courage counts. The silence stretches until it becomes unbearable. You feel it in your jaw, clenched so tight it aches. In your shoulder, stiffening in protest as tension crawls back into muscles that haven't fully healed. In Coda, still and steady at your feet, but awake now, fully present, as if he understands that something decisive is happening above him. The chairperson finally breaks the quiet. We've spent decades refining these standards, he says. They exist because unpredictability kills people. You don't respond right away. You look at the paused image on the screen instead. Coda, mid-motion, muscles coiled, eyes fixed on something the camera can't quite capture. Unpredictability, you say slowly, is what saved them. A few heads turn. Someone exhales sharply through their nose. You don't care. You train dogs to respond to commands, you continue. But the mountain doesn't follow commands. Neither does a collapsing building. Neither does a human body shutting down from cold or shock. Your voice steadies as you go on. Coda didn't wait for instruction because there was no one left to give it. He didn't follow protocol because protocol wasn't there. What he followed was need. The chairperson folds his hands together. Need isn't measurable. Neither is courage, you reply. But you know it when you see it. Lena stands. She doesn't ask permission. When we designed the certification process, she says, we prioritized handler control over independent decision-making. That made sense until it didn't. She taps a button on the remote. The screen changes. A still image from the avalanche site. The snow cave. The narrow entrance reinforced with packed ice. The way the ceiling curves, not randomly, but structurally. This, Lena says, is not instinct alone. This is problem-solving under extreme stress. Another image appears. Coda blocking the climber from crawling out into the storm. This is judgment. The room shifts. You feel it, not in words, but in posture. People leaning forward, pens forgotten, a few faces no longer guarded, but searching. The chairperson clears his throat again. What are you proposing, he asks. Lena looks at you before answering. A trial classification, she says. A new designation, limited deployment, observed autonomy. Dogs like Coda would operate with handlers trained to interpret, not override their decisions. Murmurs break out now, louder, less controlled. That undermines the entire hierarchy, someone protests. No, Lena counters calmly. It expands it. The chairperson raises a hand. Silence returns, thinner this time. And this dog, he says, nodding toward Coda, would be the first. Your pulse slams hard enough that for a moment you think it might drown everything else out. "Yes," Lena says. All eyes turn to you. "And the handler?" the chairperson asks. "You're still injured. Your career trajectory." "My career doesn't matter," you interrupt. The words come faster than you expect, sharper. "Not compared to this." Not compared to how many people won't be found because a dog like him was told he was wrong. Coda shifts, standing now, stepping closer until his shoulder touches your leg. "Solid, certain." The chairperson studies the two of you together. "A trial," he says finally. 6 months, limited scope, full oversight." He pauses. "One failure, and it ends." The word failure hangs there, heavy with history. You nod once. "We accept." The decision lands not with applause, but with a collective exhale. Outside the building, the sky is overcast, low clouds pressing down on the city. It smells like rain. Coda steps out beside you, lifts his nose, and sneezes softly. You laugh before you realize you are. It's small, a release. The first call comes 3 days later. A hiker missing in unstable terrain, not certified as a high probability zone, weather closing in. They ask carefully, deliberately, as if the wrong phrasing might undo the decision. "Are you available?" You look down at Coda. He's already at the door. The site is nothing like the glacier. No endless white, no clean silence. Just broken earth, jagged rock, trees bent under the weight of early snow. The kind of place where sound gets trapped and twisted. You unclip Coda's leash. There's no vest, no ceremony, just a hand on his shoulder. "Okay," you say. He doesn't look back. He moves forward with purpose, nose low, then high, then low again. He stops abruptly, veers left, ignores the path everyone else is watching. Someone opens their mouth to question it. You raise a hand. Minutes stretch. Then, a bark. Sharp, repeated, urgent. They find the hiker wedged beneath an overhang, injured but alive, just out of sight from where the search grid would have passed. As the medics rush in, someone whispers, almost reverently, "He didn't even hesitate." You kneel beside Coda, breath coming fast, hands resting against his damp fur. "Neither did you," you whisper. Above you, the clouds break just enough for a shaft of light to cut through, pale and fleeting. It reminds you of the glacier at golden hour, of a snow cave. Of a dog who stayed when leaving would have been easier. This time, there's no debate. The truth has found its footing. The calls don't stop after that. They change tone. At first, they're cautious, requests framed as questions, contingencies stacked on contingencies, weather windows, risk assessments, disclaimers that feel more like apologies. Then, slowly, something shifts. People stop asking if Coda can help. They start asking how soon. You feel it in the way radios crackle when you arrive on site, in the way team members glance at Coda, then at you, then step aside without being told, in the way medics look relieved when they hear his bark cut through distance and chaos. He works differently than the others. Not better, not worse, different. Certified dogs follow grids. They sweep methodically, beautifully, like equations unfolding across terrain. Coda breaks patterns, doubles back, stops where nothing looks promising, fixates on places everyone else would mark as low probability. And he's right often enough that no one laughs anymore. You learn a new role alongside him, less commander, more translator. You don't give orders so much as you interpret intention. When he hesitates, you wait. When he commits, you follow. Your trust in him becomes visible to others, and slowly, impossibly, it becomes contagious. But trust has a cost. One night, after a long extraction that ends in recovery instead of rescue, you sit on the tailgate of a truck, helmet resting beside you. Coda drinks greedily from a collapsible bowl, water sloshing down his chin. A younger rescuer stands nearby, shifting his weight. "Can I ask you something?" he says. You nod. "What happens when he's wrong?" The question is careful, respectful, honest. You think about it, about avalanches and storms and the 1,000 variables that no system fully accounts for. About the weight they placed on the word failure. "He already has been," you say quietly. The rescuer blinks. "But he's not perfect," you continue. "He's just committed. Sometimes commitment doesn't save everyone." You glance down at Coda. He looks back at you, water dripping from his whiskers, eyes bright and present. "But neither does caution," you add. The rescuer nods slowly, as if filing the thought away somewhere important. The 6 months pass faster than you expect. Reports stack up. Data accumulates. Patterns emerge where none were supposed to exist. Independent canine decision-making correlates with successful finds in atypical scenarios. The language shifts from anecdotal to empirical, from story to evidence. The final review meeting is quieter than the first. No tension this time, no defensiveness, just weight. Lena presents the findings without flourish. Graphs, case summaries, video stills. Coda appears again and again, not posed, not performing, just working. When she finishes, the chairperson removes his glasses and rubs the bridge of his nose. "We were wrong," he says simply. "No qualifiers." No softening language. The admission lands harder than any victory speech could. The trial classification will become permanent, he continues. Expanded, funded, integrated into training at all levels. He looks at you. "And your dog?" Your pulse ticks up despite yourself. "He'll be recognized," the chairperson says. "Not as an exception, as a model. You don't speak. You don't trust your voice not to break." Afterward, outside, the air feels lighter than it has in months. Coda rolls onto his back on the grass, paws in the air, exposing his belly shamelessly to the sun. You laugh, the sound unfamiliar but welcome. "You did it," you tell him. He sneezes, unimpressed. Recognition comes in strange forms. A plaque you don't hang, an article you don't reread. A training module that bears his likeness, not his name because this was never about one dog. But one afternoon, a letter arrives that stops you cold. The climber, the one from the cave, he writes about recovery, about learning to walk again, about returning to the mountains slowly, carefully, with gratitude instead of arrogance. At the end, he writes, "I still dream of that cave." Of the dark and the cold and the way your dog watched the world for me when I couldn't. I don't believe in miracles, but I believe in him. You fold the letter carefully and set it beside Coda's bowl. That night, you dream again. But this time, you're not buried. You're standing on the glacier at golden hour. The light is warm. The wind is gentle. The scars of the avalanche are still there, but they're visible now, honest, part of the landscape. Coda stands beside you, not guarding, not searching, just there. When you wake, peace lingers instead of panic. There's only one thing left, one place you haven't been back to yet. You don't tell anyone where you're going, not because it's secret, because it's personal. The mountain doesn't need witnesses. The drive takes longer than you expect. Roads thinning, signals dropping, the world gradually shedding its noise until there's only the low hum of tires and the quiet weight of memory pressing in from all sides. Coda sits in the back, alert but calm, watching the landscape change. Snow appears first in patches, then in long, unbroken stretches. Peaks rise ahead of you, familiar silhouettes against the pale sky. Your shoulder aches as you shoulder your pack. Not badly, not enough to stop you, just enough to remind you of everything that happened here. The air thins as you climb. Each breath feels cleaner than the last, stripped of city and obligation. The trail crunches beneath your boots, sound carrying farther than it should. Coda moves ahead, then back, then ahead again, checking in without hovering. You don't push for the summit. That was never the point. You stop where the avalanche broke free. The slope looks different now, softer. Time and snow have blurred the violence into something almost gentle. If you didn't know what happened here, you might miss it entirely. But you do know. You step off the trail and walk carefully across the debris field. Coda slows, matching your pace, eyes scanning without urgency. He recognizes this place, not with fear, but with respect. You find it by feel more than sight. A slight depression, a subtle curve in the snow where the ground dips inward. The cave is gone, collapsed, absorbed, returned to the mountain like it was never there. You kneel anyway. You press your gloved hand into the snow, palms sinking into cold that doesn't bite the way it used to. The wind moves gently around you, not howling now, just breathing. "This is where you stayed," you say quietly. Coda steps closer. He lowers his head and sniffs the snow, slow and deliberate. His tail stills. For a moment, he doesn't move at all. Then he sits. Not alert, not guarding, present. You let the silence stretch. No cameras, no radios, no voices narrating what this means. Just you, just him, just a place that remembers. "I thought losing you would break me," you say. The words feel safe here. "I thought finding you would be the end of it." You swallow, but it wasn't. You think of the boardroom, the arguments, the decisions that bent instead of snapping, the people who are alive because one dog refused to follow the wrong rules. "I needed to learn something," you continue, and so did they. Coda leans into you, his weight solid against your side. The same way he did in the snow cave, the same way he always has. You sit there a long time. When you finally stand, the sun is lower now, light warming the snow into gold. It looks exactly like that first moment, the one that changed everything. For a heartbeat, the past and present overlap. You can almost see it again. The snow cave, the injured climber, a dog standing watch, exhausted but unyielding. Rescuers emerging through whiteout conditions as the day breaks open. You didn't imagine it. The mountain didn't erase it. It carved it into you instead. As you turn back toward the trail, Coda glances once more at the place where the cave used to be. Then he follows you, down the mountain, back into the world. not as a failure, not as an exception, but as proof.